This segment is sponsored by Carr Carr, attorneys at law. With colder weather, it may have you slipping, sliding, and even colliding on the roads. Joining us now is attorney Patt Carr with Carr Carr, attorneys at law. Pat, so good to see you again.
Well, Shelby, it's good to be here. I hope everything's going to be better this week than it was last.
Oh, yeah. So let's go ahead and get started. How do the risks of being involved in a car wreck change when the winter season arrives?
Well, obviously, you're going to have changes as cooler weather comes in with snow and ice and slush. You're also going to have shorter hours of sunlight and daytime, which means you're going to have poorer lines of sight. So it's important to understand that you're going to be doing more driving in hours of darkness, so you're going to have to be very, very cautious because other drivers may not see you as easily as they used to. So that's another thing to factor in your driving.
Now, what are some common ways car wrecks happen during the winter season?
Well, it's when people don't anticipate what the conditions are. In other words, driving too fast for existing conditions is one of the most common ways. If you're driving on icy, slippery roads, then you've got to reduce your speed. You've got to be aware of other people around you. If they're not reducing their speed, then there's a chance that there could be an accident which might involve you. You're going to be very careful about existing conditions and how they're going to change. And also, I think it's a matter of transitioning into those changes. Younger drivers, less experienced drivers, may not anticipate what's going to happen inevitably. One of the things we hear is that some people aren't used to snowy conditions, and so it takes a while for them to get used to it. So it's just that transition into the wintry times of the year, which is particularly concerning. You've got to really watch out for that.
And as a part of that transition into the winter season, should people change their insurance coverage?
Well, one thing you need to really look for is uninsured motorist coverage. There are so many people these days who do not have liability coverage. And that can be particularly important in the winter months when the chances of a wreck go up. And when you have a chance of wrecks going up, the chance of being involved in a wreck with somebody who does not have insurance goes up. So it's really important to make sure you have a coverage called uninsured motorist coverage. It's relatively inexpensive, and it's really important to have. And one other item you might think about also is med pay. So if you get involved in a wreck and unfortunately you may get hurt, then your medical payments coverage will help cover your deductible and copay in your own insurance. Or if you don't have insurance, pay you something to help pay those medical bills.
And as an attorney, Pat, have you dealt with several of these kinds of wrecks yourself?
Oh, yes. Our firm has handled thousands of car wrecks over the years. And we see these kinds of things happening in the winter months in particular. So we're real familiar with the maxim of being a defensive driver is the best way to drive your automobile or your truck, whatever you happen to be in.
Lots of great advice as we transition into the colder seasons. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Pat. You can turn to Carr Carr attorneys for help with personal injury, Social Security, disability, and workers' comp. Call them at 405-691-1600 or find them online at carcarcar.com.